Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Psychology MasterClass Lesson 3, Goal Setting. What's up guys, what's up? For those who are live in the room, say hi, give me a Y if you can hear me. So we're gonna get started in the next couple minutes or so. Today we will be talking about goal setting. So for those who are attending live, if you guys have any goal setting questions that you want to start off with, drop them down in the chat. I'll make sure to take a note and then answer them throughout the webinar. So again, if any goal setting questions come up or if you already have them, put them in the chat. I'll flag them and then I'll cover them throughout. Today's going to be a good webinar. We got a few different topics to talk about. And again, it's going to be building on top of the previous 3 lessons. And it's the foundation to what's coming in the future as well. So before we get started, guys, for those who are live, anything specific you wish to get out of this webinar, just so I know where your heads are at, let me know. I'll give you guys 30 seconds or so, and then we're gonna get started. So I got some questions already coming in. I'm just seeing what you guys are typing. Got a question on time limits or deadlines. Got a question from Francisca about getting a loan from the bank to increase account. That's more of a question for a monthly Q&A webinar, but I'll flag that. I'll chat about it a little bit from a psychological point of view. Non-linear time, that's a good one. Got that question already written down as well. Got a few questions about time. All right, guys. Cool. How specific the goals have to be? Got it. So, goal setting, guys. When it comes to goals, obviously there's many different types of goals. You have, money goals, you have personal goals, you have the things that you want to buy, the lifestyle goals, the things that you want to achieve, the things that you want to do throughout your life, things that you want to learn, right? They're all different categories of goals. So the ones that we mainly want to focus on, at least the ones that I know you guys are probably interested in, are obviously trading goals / financial goals and lifestyle related goals. So how do you build that lifestyle? But when it comes to lifestyle related goals, it's, to me, lifestyle related goals take into consideration everything, everything from the financials to the things and the materialistic things to the personal development goals and all of that stuff. So to me, lifestyle takes care of all of that. So when I'm thinking of lifestyle goals, I'm thinking about the whole package, the big deal. So we'll talk today about trading goals, then a little bit about limited thinking. We already touched on limited thinking before, but a little bit in regards to goals. Then we'll chat a little bit about big lifestyle goals versus those small materialistic goals, how they differentiate, time targets, setting time targets or not setting time targets. And then we'll lead and finish off with manifestation, which will lead into the next lesson as well. So we'll chat a little bit about manifestation, and then we'll really kick off manifestation in the next coming up lessons. So that's kind of the agenda for today. And then I have a bunch of questions that I've written down from you guys that you have asked, and a few questions that you have asked so far today for those who are attending live. So with that said, trading goals. I want to ask you guys here, for those who are attending live, trading goals. What kind of trading goals do you guys have? What are you trying to achieve when it comes to trading, or what are you trying to achieve from trading as a result that trading gives you? Let me know real quick. I'm really curious. And then we'll chat a little bit about those trading related goals and how you can achieve them and some tools behind them that you can utilize. The one thing that I want to chat a little bit about when it comes to trading goals is percentage-based thinking. So that's something that I really want to touch up on, but let me see what you guys have written down here. So 12.5 average per month. That's a random number. 12.5 average per month. But yeah. Time and financial independence, that's for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's like the number one thing that I at least look for and strive for. Creating generational wealth through skills and portfolio creation. Epic, love it. Consistency, the freedom to travel and trade and do it comfortably. To become the main source of income. Time, space, freedom. 10% a month average. Consistency on 6%. So some people want 6%, 10%, 12%. Consistency, ASAP, then build capital. Consistency. So those are some of the goals that those who are attending live have been posting. Generate wealth and freedom. Cool. So you notice how a lot of those goals is they can be achieved through many different things, not just trading, right? But a lot of them are also like time and freedom. Obviously, that trading can give you that. Generational wealth, right? Trading can give you that. Freedom to travel and trade and do it comfortably. Trading can give you that. Make it the main source of income. So those are pretty basic goals. And the way I like to think about trading goals is that obviously until the point of, I want to give you guys some perspective, until the point of quitting your job, right? When the time comes, the 9 to 5, that you're quitting the 9 to 5, that typically is the main driver, at least it was in my life. When I was in this journey, at the beginning of this journey, that was the main purpose, is for me to quit my job so I can have the freedom to do whatever I want, right? And that was the main focus. The main focus was quit my job. And therefore, everything in between that I was doing was related to that focus, to that main focus of quitting my 9 to 5 and becoming a full-time trader. That was my goal at the beginning. That goal has obviously changed, because I did quit my job. So you got to realize that obviously it can seem like such a long-term goal, but that's a very short-term goal. That's something that can be achieved within a few years, right? And to me, that's a short-term goal. Within a few years, that's a short-term goal, right? A lot of people think that trading is something that you should become financial free in 3 months or 5 months or 6 months. That can definitely happen depending on your account size, right? The bigger the account, the faster you will, or the bigger the account, the bigger your returns, right? Hence, the faster you could be able to replace your income with a larger account. But even a few years, that's a very short-term goal, because that few years you'll achieve your main goal, which is quit your 9 to 5, become a full-time trader. And then you're open to the possibilities of what's after that. What's after that? it's literally unlimited, because once you quit your job and you become a full-time trader, yeah, you can trade here for as long as you want. You can be a full-time trader for years and years and years, and for the rest of your career, that's something that you can do, is just trade and invest. But after that, you got to remember that there's more to it, right? There's other goals. There could be personal goals, there could be financial goals, it could be business goals. You might want to start businesses, right? There might be skill related goals. Maybe you want to learn something else, right? A different skill, something, a hobby, fly a helicopter, you know, upgrade the lifestyle, right? So you might start off as that goal of quitting your 9 to 5, but that is just the beginning. That is literally just the beginning. And as soon as you accomplish that, you might realize at the beginning that's so far away, but a few years is not far away, right? If you're thinking about making billions, that will take years and years and years and years and years to make billions, decades, majority of the time. You've sometimes even longer than decades, generational wealth handed down, you know. But it's good to have obviously those short-term goals. To me, a short-term goal is quit my 9 to 5. That's a short-term goal. And that was my number one priority. It wasn't about the cars, right? It wasn't about the materialistic things. It was about quitting that 9 to 5. And that was my purpose. That was my main focus. So everything that I was thinking about, everything that I was doing, my daily routine, it was all aligned for the purpose of me to quit my 9 to 5 job. It was all optimized for me to quit my 9 to 5 job. My thinking was everything in regards to my thinking and the thoughts in my head throughout the day focused on quitting my 9 to 5 job, right? But not the work behind it, right? Not the grind behind it. The grind behind it is something that happens, but it's not something that I'm saying to myself, such as, let me explain that, working towards something. Working towards something, right? I'm now working towards quitting my job, because then you'll always be working towards it, right? It's as if that was already done. If you can start focusing in that kind of way, as it's already done, right, and feeling that, then that's where true manifestation happens, right? That's taking your normal goal and pushing it to the next level because you feel like it's already complete. All right, so if you can accomplish that feeling, the goal's already done, right? It's happening. It's literally happening. So let me expand on it a little bit more. So trading goals. Obviously, a lot of you guys will be focusing on account size goals. Your goal might be, none of you guys mentioned it here, but you might be, have a $5,000 account, have a $10,000 account, have 25, 50 grand, 100 grand, 500 grand, million, 10 million, right? Keep on going up. What I had back in the day, it was a tool, right? Something that I had back in the day, which when I started off, I only really used it for a few months, but it helped me. It was a little bit of a motivational booster at the beginning of my journey. And the thing that you got to remember is the tools that you utilize, right? The goals that you have, the things that you think about, they're going to change, right? Sometimes one tool might be better than the other. Sometimes the other tool might be better than the other, right? So don't get so hung up on one thing, one tool, one goal, right? Life conditions change, and tools, you learn new tools as well as you pick them up. So something as one of my original tools that I utilize is I had a sheet. Something I wouldn't really do now, because at the stage where I am, that's something that I don't resonate with. But at the beginning of my journey, I had one piece of paper, right? And on that piece of paper, I had daily monetary goals, I had weekly monetary goals, I had monthly monetary goals, and then I had account total goals. So such as on that piece of paper, I would have daily, make $500 in a day, make $1,000 in a day, make $2,500 in a day, make $5 grand in a day, make 10K in a day, right? And every single time I did it, when I made 500 bucks as I was growing in the beginning, when I made $500, check mark. Next time, next trade, made 500 bucks, check mark. Made 500 bucks, check mark. Every single time I achieve that goal, I just put a check mark beside it, right? It makes me seem like I'm doing it, right? Which I am doing it. And then eventually it was that $1,000 day, right? Check mark. And then it was that $2,500 day, check mark. And then 5K, check, 10K, check, right? And then I did the same thing for weekly goals, So if, as an example, if your daily income was like 300 bucks, obviously you can make that goal $300 in a day, or just 500, make $500 in a day, and you already covered your daily wage. Weekly wage, how about how much you make in a week, right? That's kind of what you should start off with. So in a week, a lot of people make maybe $1,000, $1,500, depending on their salary and the type of work that they do. So $1,000 in a week, right? That might be your first goal. That $1,000 replaces your income, right? And continue going up. $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, $10K, $25,000 in a week. And then every single time you hit it, you just check it off. And it's progress, right? It's progress. You're getting somewhere. Same thing with the monthly goals. I would have the same thing. Start off with my salary, make 4K in a month or 5K in a month, and then increase it, 10K, 25K, 50K, 100K, right? And then same thing for account size goals. If you start off with 10K, and increase it $20,000, double it, right? Then $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, right? And kind of stop it at that million. And every single time you hit it, right? You hit a goal, whether it be daily, weekly, monthly, or account size, I would just put a check mark beside it. So that's something I did in the past, and it has helped me, right? That's something I did at the beginning when I quit my job, and like the few months after that initial year, right? After that, it didn't relate to me anymore, right? It was kind of past that. I didn't really have to. It was filled with check marks, so I didn't really have to do that anymore. That conditioning, what it was just conditioning that, you know what? Yeah, you're making fucking money. Because every single time, look at all those check marks. That's every single time you took a trade and you made money on it, right? You hit a goal, not just once, many times, over and over and over and over and over. It was just repetition. So instead of setting a goal, make $500 in a day, and then hitting it once and then being done with it, I would literally hit it every single time. Every single time I made 500 bucks, check mark, check mark, check mark. Because at that point, that's just more confirmation, right? And it doesn't matter that it's not going up, because I know the more check marks at that $500, then soon it's going to be $1,000 in a day, right? And it was just a constant reminder. So I like that tool. It's something I did at the beginning, and it has really helped with everything at that start. And that brings me to percentage-based thinking, right? Sometimes percentage-based thinking can limit you a little bit. And let me touch on that, because what I was saying here, those financial, like monetary amount goals, right? I preferred at the beginning of my journey to focus on that, those monetary amount goals, because that's truly what matters, right? Sure, I can think about 5% a month, 10% a month, get consistent at that. And that's awesome. That's a goal everybody should have to achieve consistency. But that 5%, when you check it off, it doesn't have the same impact as, fuck, I just made 2,500 bucks. Replace my income, right? In one trade, in one day, as an example. That to me has a much bigger impact than I just made 15%. So I know we're meant to shift away from the dollar figure based thinking. But at the same time, the dollar-based thinking helps. It really does help, because it attaches emotions to it. To me, shifting away from dollar-based thinking is a little bit of escaping, because you're escaping the emotions that are attached to money. To me, you got to conquer those emotions, right? Those emotions attached to money, they should not be negative, should be positive. right? There should be no negativity when it comes to abundance. So to me, kind of escaping the dollar-based thinking is covering something up, right? Rather than working through those emotions, why don't I focus on dollar-based thinking, dollar-based goal setting, right? So I think both are important, percentage goals and dollar figure goals. Dollar figure goals will let you know that you're growing, that you're hitting those targets that you need to hit. Specifically the first ones that are meant to replace your income. Guess what? If your income is $300 a day and your main goal is $500 and you keep on hitting that $500 and you keep on checking it off, at some point you're going to realize, fuck, it's time for me to quit. It's time for me to quit. You have the visual cue right there. You've been checking it off almost daily, versus that 5%, seeing that 5%, it doesn't have that big of an impact. And that's okay, right? A lot of people will say that is beneficial. To me, that's just an addition, right, to the dollar percentage figures. Because what that percentage-based thinking gives you is the consistency behind things. Obviously, the dollar-based thinking also gives you consistency. But now when you can achieve 5% average a month, 10% average a month, right? Whatever it is, 5%, 10%, that's a good range to kind of target as when it comes to goals. And when you can consistently hit that, and you've been consistent for 6 months or a year, hitting somewhere between that 5 to 10% range, right, per month, then all of a sudden you can realize that shit, I've been consistent for this entire time. On top of that, I'm also checking off those goals. I'm consistent and I'm hitting my numbers, right? And at that point, when you start seeing everything line up, then you know what to do. It's time to quit. You've hit the goal. You achieved the main goal of quitting your job, replacing your income, right? So in a way, that brings me to the next part, but I want to pause a little bit and see what kind of questions you guys have here. Nick says, did that give you emotional fluctuations when looking at those check marks? You're the one that controls your emotions, right? So to me, I don't recall emotional fluctuations when looking at the check marks. The check marks mean that I'm hitting my targets, right? I don't have a euphoria. I remember the first time I had this checklist already set up, and the first time I really had like a big day when I pretty much like went to the bottom of my daily goals and checked it off. I remember that day clearly, and I was actually doing a road trip with Molly. We were on the road for like 10, 12 hours driving to Banff, Canada from Vancouver. And it's like 900 kilometers or so. And then I had my largest 3 positions running. There were yen pairs. This was August 2014, something like that. And I had 3 positions. And when we were driving, I didn't check my computer, no Wi-Fi reception in the mountains. And when I got there, all of them hit profit target. It was just exploded on news, and all of them hit profit target within that day. I think they were live for like 24, 48 hours kind of thing. And that was $15,000. Those 3 trades were 15K total, right? And that was a few months after I quit my job. And at that point, that's when I already had the checklist, because I made that almost right after I quit my job. And at that point, I realized, because when I checked, it was about midnight Vancouver time, and it was bad. I was on the road for a long time. I checked my charts, see what the hell's going on, made 15K, showed Molly, and then we're like, fuck. All right, let's see what happens in the morning. And that was it. That was the emotional reaction, right? Because to me, in my mind, it was already done, right? So there was no huge emotional kind of euphoria because it was already done. I've seen it so many times. This was just the confirmation in the physical. That's all it was, right? And in my mind, I decide over and over and over and over and over again, hitting those goals, making that money, right? And then all of a sudden, when it happened in the physical, in this 3D reality, all of a sudden, there was no major emotional reaction to it. It was just like, yep, good, done, next, literally. So emotional fluctuations, they don't have to be there, but even if they are there, it's not the bad thing. Don't see emotions as bad. People see emotions as bad. They're not bad. Emotions are not bad. They're natural. And we'll chat more about that as we go on. What is the line, Jamie asks, what is the line between setting healthy trading-based weekly, monthly goals in dollar figures or percentages versus putting pressure on yourself to take trades that aren't great just to try and hit that goal? If you're not on track to hit your weekly, monthly goals, will this lead to unnecessary trades? That's up to you, bro. That's really up to you. You taking unnecessary trades, well, is that part of your trading plan? If not, then you have a totally different problem there. It's not about goals. You have a problem of emotional trading that are tied to your goals. And that is due to get rich quick. I know that you guys know that trading is not a get rich quick. I know that you guys know that this might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years, right? For some of us. I've known traders who have been doing this for 10 years and then they achieved financial freedom. And even though it took 10 years, yeah, they were fucking happy, you know, when they did it. And it changed their life and they're trading full time for years now. And when it comes to setting those monthly, like you said, dollar percentage figure goals, is there a healthy line? Still a healthy amount? Or the healthy amount is from where you are now to unlimited. That's the healthy amount. Where you are now to unlimited. And I know unlimited will be a constant journey, never ending, you know. But if you aim for that, then you will reach unlimited because you will be constantly going and hitting those goals and just expanding. You put a target, $1 million, yeah, you'll continue hitting till a million, and then what? You know, you put a target 2K, yeah, you'll continue grinding till 2K, and then what? To me, it's you have to have a spectrum of it all if you want to expand, right? To me, it's not about focusing so hardcore on the next goal. It's focusing hardcore on the next major goal. Everything in between is the plan. Everything in between are the steps that I need to take to achieve that main goal. But at the same time, there will be steps that I put down as goals that probably don't even matter, right? So instead of kind of focusing on what's the next small goal, what's the next small goal, what's the next small goal, I'll make the plan, but I'm focusing on the main purpose. Quit my goal, quit my 9-to-5 job. Yes, hitting those small daily goals, they will get me there. Hitting those percentage targets, they will get me there. And my number one focus, quit my 9-to-5 job. That's my main focus, right? That's my main goal. So every day, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm focusing. And what it feels like to not go to work today. What it feels like to do whatever the fuck I want. What it feels like to be financially free. Just at that lifestyle stage, you know, which is your current lifestyle. But be financially free at that current lifestyle. What does it feel like? That's what I focus on, right? And then I know that in between, yeah, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to hit. But my main focus is not directed at those dollar figure numbers, those percentage numbers. My main focus is the major goal, right? The next step in my journey. And then in between, it's the knowing that as I do these steps, as I continue improving, as I continue learning from failures, as I continue learning in general, right, I continue to grow. And then through that process, as I hit these small little goals, I know that the main goal will be achieved, right? So when it comes for me, when it came to trading goals, when it comes to trading goals now, at this point, yeah, I have trading goals, but they're larger than where you guys are at now, starting off, right? And that will just, your goals overall, they will just expand with your lifestyle. And that initial one, just know that it may seem like it's so hard to quit your 9 to 5 job, that it's such a long time away. 1 year is not a long time away. 3 years is not even a long time away, right? If you do it consistently and if you stay on this path and you make a checklist, right, so that you know that you're staying on this path, at least for now, make a checklist so that you know you're staying on the path, whatever it is, whether it be the percentages, the dollar figures, or both, right? So that you know you're moving forward. And then main focus is that main purpose. In your mind, that's what you're focusing on. And that's what you're truly manifesting. So let's chat a little bit. There was a question about quitting the 9 to 5 job, and then we're going to move on to other topics in this webinar. And the question was, did you quit your 9 to 5 job when your returns were double your salary so that you could take out half of it and keep the other half compounding in the account to grow it? Well, that's the thing. This is where everybody differs, because some of you are starting with 2K, some of you guys are starting with 10K, some of you guys are starting with 50K, some of you guys are starting with a few $100,000, right? I know some of you guys even have a million and so in there. Different monetary account sizes, right? Different goals. The faster you can achieve some, with obviously the larger the account. Now, for me, so when you're thinking about this, what it takes for you to quit your job, you have to obviously think about the account sizes and your monthly expenses, both of that. Account sizes, monthly expenses. So if your monthly expenses are 3K or 4K, then obviously if you average $4,000 a month in profit, is it the best time for you to quit your job? Right? Think about that. Your expenses are 4K or 3K, let's say 3K, and you're averaging $4,000 a month. Is that a good time to quit your job? Probably not. Because if you quit your job, yeah, you'll be using 3K off that 4K to cover your living expenses. Your lifestyle will not evolve, will not grow, right? You will just cover your current lifestyle right now. And that's great. That's awesome if that's where you want to stay, right? But if you want to expand, if you want to grow, right, you might want to think about, okay, sticking to that 9 to 5 for a little bit longer, right? So that you can compound those returns for a little bit longer, right? That little bit longer is months, literally months, a year at max. If you're consistent, right, and you can save a little bit of your salary as well and toss it into that trading account, eventually, right, if you keep on tossing money into a trading account and you keep on compounding that 4K and using your 9 to 5 still to live off and maybe save a little bit more, right, then eventually you'll be making $8,000 a month, right, and your expenses are 3K. And now you can withdraw half, 4K, get some extra goodies in there, and keep the other 4K in your trading account compounding. And now you have achieved financial freedom. Because at this point, you can use that 4K to live off, right, to cover your expenses and even increase your lifestyle a tiny bit by $1,000, right? And then the other 4K will be compounding. And if you can do that consistently, right? I'm assuming you're quitting your job because you've done that consistently for a few months, 6 months or so, right? And then literally your account is expanding every single month because of that compounding. So I did it a different way. When I quit my job, I just replaced my income, right? I didn't double my account when I quit my job. When I quit my job, I was just able to replace my income. But there was a second income in the household. That was my wife, Molly, right? She was working a full-time job, really good career, just like myself. And then we managed to budget in a way so that we're only living off of her income, right? Our monthly expenses are covered by her income. And then my entire paycheck went into the trading account until I replaced my paycheck, my salary, with the profits from my trading account, with my monthly average return. Then I quit my job because I still had income coming in, which was Molly's salary, right? And then as I compounded the account, because now everything was being compounded, I was not withdrawing anything from my trading account because there was a second income coming in, right? Until I was able to double my salary, cover both incomes, right? Once I was able to cover both incomes, at that point, it was time for both of us to quit, right? And we're fully financially free at that point because I could withdraw half and a little bit more, cover my living expenses and increase my lifestyle a tiny bit, and then compound the rest. And you do that over and over and over again, and you keep on compounding, you'll continue to grow, and you will never be stagnant. Unless every single month you're increasing your lifestyle as well, buying those Gucci belts and those Prada shoes and all of that. I spent a lot of money on travel back in the day. But you'll realize that obviously those little materialistic things, they're gonna bring down your entire account size, because you're buying these materialistic things as you're growing. To me, it was more about traveling. But at the same time, when I was thinking about that, it wasn't about the materialistic things, the clothes, the Gucci belts, Pradas, and all of that. It was about the next lifestyle shift, right? So it's kind of like we replaced our incomes, right? We upped our lifestyle a tiny bit, and then we stayed there for a few years as we were growing, compounding until we can successfully shift into the next lifestyle phase, right? And then do the same process until you can again move over into the next lifestyle and then the next lifestyle, and just keep on growing and experiencing different lifestyles, right? And then within that lifestyle there are different things, different personal goals, other goals, trading goals, business goals. All of that is all incorporated into that lifestyle. So that is that. Was I consistent when I quit my job? Yes. I would never recommend anybody quit anything if they're not making money. So that's not a recommendation you'll get from me. To me, that's you have to be consistent. At least I believe that you have to be consistent before pulling the trigger on something and going full out. I think consistency, well, it's less stress. If you're not consistent and you quit your job, there'll probably be a ton of stress with that, because it's more work, more things that you need to learn, you have to achieve consistency still and replace your income versus just keep on trading. Think about that. If you quit your job without becoming consistent because you have your spouse who is making consistent income, right, where you guys are living off of. And if I quit my job too early without being consistent, then I have to worry about, still learning, becoming consistent, replacing my income, right? Versus I've already done all of that. Now I quit my job. Now my sole focus is trading, period. Not replacing my income. I've done that already, right? Trading. That's it. Sam, as I understand and heard it right, you were making 500 a day. That's just an example. The $500 a day, that's just an example. And it's a day, in a day. Make $500 in a day, not $500 a day. That will never be consistent, you know. Consistency will not be hit in that kind of way where you're achieving $500 every single day. No, it's I didn't even double look average, you know. It was just the goal was make $500 in a day, you know. All right, so that's a little bit about trading goals and how we deal with that. And obviously, if you guys have other questions in regards to that, keep on posting. But I'm going to move on a little bit and talk a tiny bit about limited thinking when it comes to goal setting and such. We've chatted about limited thinking in the last lesson number 3, I believe. 2. Lesson number 2, we covered limited thinking. This is lesson number 3. And what I'm going to chat about today is working towards something. Since we're on goal setting, if in your mind you're working towards a goal, right? You're working towards quitting your 9 to 5. You're working towards hitting $1 million in your account. You're working towards buying that car. The verbiage, the language that you use is extremely important when it comes to manifestation goal setting. Because the act, the thinking, and the speaking of, yeah, I'm working towards this. I'm working towards becoming a full-time trader. What are you manifesting there? Right? We'll be chatting a little bit about quantum laws in another lesson as we move on in manifestation, but working towards, if that's your thinking, you will always be working towards that goal. Because what you think about, what environment you create within, that's the environment that you will receive around you too. So if the environment within, if the thought process within is working towards something, the environment outside will be presenting you with situations where you constantly will be working towards that specific goal. That's like the basis of law of attraction, but it goes much, 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 much deeper into quantum physics and quantum science. All of this is currently explained by quantum science and quantum physics, and we'll chat about it later. But that's why that language is so important. And that's one of the most common language that I hear people say all the time when they're talking about goal setting, working towards something, versus it's already done. Because if in your mind is already done, you just created a reality, right? It's a thought form. It's not a physical, but you create a thought form reality where that has already happened, where you are that full-time trader, where you are making millions and millions a year, right? Trading stocks, trading Forex, just trading and investing. You are doing that. And if that's the environment that you create within on a regular basis, right? As it's already done, as if you're already trading full time, if that's what you create within, then that's what will be reflected around you. You will be getting situations and scenarios and catalysts. You'll be receiving that information in regards to you being a full-time trader rather than working towards being a full-time trader. Right? So see it as done. In your mind, see it as done. Don't see it as a process. See it as it's already done. And then it will not feel like a process. You know, it will actually feel like you're getting somewhere. And then the other one, which will stop you tremendously, right? And this one will limit you hardcore. When it comes to financial goals, this is one of the biggest limiting beliefs when it comes to any financial related goals or abundance. It's worthiness. Not feeling worthy of that car. Not feeling worthy of that lifestyle. Not feeling worthy of that abundance for various reasons, right? So many out there. They're typically generated from your past. Again, could be limiting beliefs given to you by your teachers, by your parents, by your siblings, by your friend groups, your peers, by yourself, right? The worthiness, that needs to disappear. So if you feel like you're doing everything but you're not getting anywhere, well, look at your thinking first, right? Are there limiting beliefs? Are in your mind you're working towards it, first of all, right? Because if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, that's potentially in your mind and your thinking is that you're working towards something, or that you're not worthy of it. And that's why you're not receiving it. You might be doing everything when it comes to the rules, the technicals, the trading, you might be doing everything perfect. But if your worthiness is not there, the worthiness to reach that abundance, to have those things, if that's not there, you're not going to have it because your belief system is fucked, right? So worthiness is huge, and that's something that a lot of people will deal with. That's something I dealt with too at the beginning. And the way I challenge myself in a way, whenever those feelings of worthiness, or really any feelings come to mind when it comes to goals and achieving something, specifically financial abundance, I look around me, and not the current environment that I'm at. I look at more than the current environment where I am. I look at the people that I want to become like, not the people that I want to become like, but be on the same level as, So if they can do it, why the fuck can't I? So the feelings of worthiness, to me, it doesn't matter because I know that if that person can do it, I know for a fact they're not perfect individuals, but if they can do it, why can't I? Right? If that person can drive the Ferrari, why can't I? If that person can live in that house, why can't I? If that person can become a billionaire through running a hedge fund, why can't I? Right? If that person can become a billionaire through running multiple businesses, why can't I? But to get to that level, it's a long process, right? It's a long process, but to me, that long process doesn't even matter because I'll just do. I won't even focus on the process. I will just do the steps required, period. If I plan on making $1 billion by starting multiple business, I will continue to start businesses, various businesses, until that $1 billion is hit, right? If it's through trading, I will continue to learn everything there is to know about trading and continue to learn and continue to learn and continue to learn till that $1 billion is hit. I won't be focusing on the small goals, the small process. The process to me is just doing the work, right? Doing the steps required to hit that major lifestyle goal, whatever the hell it is, right? Small goals in between, they're great, but they're just steps, right? And fulfillment typically will not happen because you bought a Lamborghini, which is a small goal in between, right? Fulfillment will happen on those major intervals, quitting your job and becoming financially free. That's impactful, right? Getting that materialistic thing, buying that fancy watch or that fancy car, it's not going to have that much impact. It might, but at least it didn't for me, right? To me, it was more about the lifestyle changes. And that's what was that a major impact. So working towards it, worthiness, the language that you use in regards to your goals. Remember, it's already done. If you approach anything with that thinking that it's already done, then that's where you'll be heading, as it's already done. So we chatted a little bit about big lifestyle goals versus small materialistic goals. So that's the thing, right? Kind of went around the subject. Let's focus on it a little bit, because you can have the small goals of the main goal is quit your 9 to 5, but in between there you might want to treat yourself. So until you quit your 9 to 5, obviously you might have a goal make $2,000 in a day, make $2,000 in a week, $2,000 a month kind of thing. So you might have those goals. Then you might have, go on this vacation once I hit this number, or buy this thing once I hit this number, buy that. To me, that process in between, those small goals in between, they're not relevant at all. The only thing that matters is quitting that 9 to 5 job. Those small goals in between, they make it seem like I'm getting. So it's helpful in that way. If that's what helps you, then that's what you should do, right? If you like consistently in your mind achieving those small little goals, if to you that makes you feel like you're getting somewhere, then do that, right? Personally, I put all my attention to the main event, the main goal. Because throughout my journey, I might plan, and I do plan those small little intervals, but it's just a plan. It's not a goal, it's not something fixed. My main goal and the only goal is quit that 9 to 5 job, right? Anything in between there, they're just steps, they're just a process, right? And I focus on that process, I continue working with the main purpose of quitting the 9 to 5. And when it comes to going on that vacation, yeah, now I hit it, now I'm able to do it. But instead of doing it, because my main purpose is hitting that 9 to 5 job, quitting that 9 to 5 job, instead of going on that trip, I keep the money in my trading income. Even though I have achieved it, I achieved the goal, the ability to do that, right? I didn't continue with it because I've realized that that's not the main driver here. And if I quit my job, then I can go on as many trips as I fucking want. And to me, that's why that's the number one thing, right? Same thing when it comes to the larger lifestyle goals, right? When you have the larger lifestyle goals, move to a different country, buy the big house, live that cool life, whatever the hell it is. That might be the big lifestyle change. In between there, it might be, get that Lamborghini, get that penthouse, do that and do that and do that and do that, right? Then yeah, I can focus on those things and I'll hit them. But at the same time, I can also focus on that major lifestyle. I'll still hit those things, right? Because as my income grows, as the more money I make, because I'm striving for that major lifestyle, I'm still achieving those small little goals. But when the time comes that now I can buy that Aston Martin or that Lamborghini, in my mind, it's like, okay, well, I can buy that Lamborghini, or I can just keep on compounding until I hit that major lifestyle goal. You know what I mean? It's, again, priorities. And for some of you, the major lifestyle goal includes the Lamborghini, includes the Aston Martin. So I would buy it as I achieve that major lifestyle goal, not before, right? Because I don't need to be driving a Lamborghini living from my parents' basement. You know what I mean? I want to be driving a Lamborghini living somewhere nice, as an example. I'm just talking about hypothetical terms because I don't really give a fuck about a Lamborghini at all. But I know some of you guys are car fans, and that's something that you have a goal as, to get that car. So I'm just saying the bigger picture for me, the bigger lifestyle goal takes priority over the smaller materialistic goals, right? Because the bigger lifestyle goal could have that Lamborghini within it anyway. So instead of buying it earlier, prior to you being able to hit that lifestyle, I would just do it when I'm able to hit that lifestyle. I would just make the big change versus small changes here and there. I would just make that one big change. But again, that's my thinking. That's how I do things, right? To me, focusing on that final thing as that's already done takes me farther than dedicating my energy and on the next small goal. That's the main difference, because I'm constantly thinking and manifesting that major goal, right? Then that's what I'm driving my energy towards. And that's what the universe the quantum field, that's what's reflecting back to me, versus focusing on the next major or the next smaller materialistic goal. Go on that trip, make that money, buy this car. Then sure, I can focus all my attention on buying that car, and I will buy that car. But I did not focus on that major lifestyle goal. I focused on the car. So I got the car, but not the lifestyle. And that's the difference, right? You'll hit it, whatever it is, that smaller materialistic thing. You'll buy it, but you won't have the lifestyle. That's still left to come. And to some of you guys, that might be totally cool. And that's great, right? To me, I focus on the bigger vision rather than those smaller things. And hence, if you do that, what you'll notice is that you're hitting those bigger goals faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, because there's no distractions in between, right? There's no buying that Lamborghini and then chilling because now you bought the Lamborghini, right? There's no small little buying that small materialistic thing and then again taking a break because you've hit that goal. You deserve break, celebration. To me, it was just work, hit the major lifestyle goal, enjoy the major lifestyle goal. Now that's work. Now that's something that I want to celebrate, right? Because now I've hit that major lifestyle goal, and that's the one thing I focused on. Because that's the one thing I focused on, and I kind of missed everything in between. Not that I missed, I've achieved everything in between, but I did not take a pause because I bought this Lamborghini. It's time to enjoy it, right? As an example, I was able to achieve all those goals, and I continued to compound until that major goal was achieved. And at that point, you can achieve things much faster because there's no distractions in between. So to me, big lifestyle goals versus smaller materialistic goals, to me, it's always the big lifestyle goal. Because if I dedicate all my attention to that, I will achieve it much faster than focusing my attention on the next small goal, the next small goal, the next small goal, the next small goal. To me, all the goals are within that lifestyle. So that's what I focus on, the major lifestyle, because that's where the goals are anyway. Does that make sense, guys? Let me know if you have any follow-up questions on that. And the next topic is time targets, and we'll chat a little bit about manifestation. Sam, views on some influential people on the internet talk about dreamlining versus goal setting. Well, which influential people on the internet are those? Because I don't watch YouTube. Don't remember the last time I watched YouTube. So, or podcasts. I don't listen to podcasts, so I have no idea. Tim Ferriss is an example. I haven't listened to Tim Ferriss stuff in 6 years. Maybe longer. Tim Ferriss is great though. Tim Ferriss is somebody that I looked up to at the very beginning. Tim Ferriss is somebody that made me pursue something different. The 4-Hour Work Week, the book that he wrote, that was the start to everything, right? It was the book by Tim Ferriss. But to me, it kind of stopped there, right? I kept on following Tim Ferriss a little bit after that, but then just kind of moved on to different things. But talk about dreamlining. I've never really even looked into that term or not even know what he really refers by dreamlining. Oh, yeah, that's something I would not relate to. That's why it's something I never followed. It's the definition I found on the web when it comes to dreamlining. Dreamlining is a technique for achieving one's personal dreams based on writing them down and performing time and cost calculations. The first thing to keep in mind, dreamlining is not the goal in itself. Dreamlining is a system to actualize your dreams and goals. It's a bit like goal setting, but there are some real differences. To me, I believe that, yeah, you should write down goals, and this actually takes me to the next being time-based goals. But writing down goals is good, and it's the next step above not writing down those goals. You know, I think writing down goals is something that has been studied. It's something that the Harvard University has done a study on it a very long time ago, and some of the facts that they came up with is that the graduates who wrote down their goals were much closer to achieving them than those who did not write down their goals. So the simple process of writing down your goals or your dreams, right, is useful because it does give you an outline of what it is that you need to do, right? And the act of putting it down on paper puts some certainty behind it, right? Confirmation. Now you've wrote it down. Now that's something that you achieve, that you want to do. You've taken the first action, which was just writing it down. To me, that is very, very, very basic goal setting. Very basic, which you guys are going to learn here, like next level stuff. And that's when we start moving into other parts, you know. For now, yeah, write down the goals because you have to know what it is that you want, right? And to me, writing down goals that's not a negative thing, right? I'm not against it. It's not a negative thing. I write down goals all the time, right? But that's just one step of a bigger picture, of a much bigger picture. So making a plan, that's what I look at, right? To me, it's, okay, what is it that I want, right? What is it that I want? Maybe it's this lifestyle, okay? So I'll make a plan, general plan, because to me, plans like that are not concrete, right? There never will be black and white. I will make a plan, but I will know that that plan will probably change. And I will leave room for that in my thinking. You know, I don't want to be so focused on this one plan because that limits me. To me, that is limiting. So if the main goal for me is to quit my 9-to-5 job as an example, then I might make a whole plan. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Once all of this is done, you've achieved your goal. Great. Sure, write it down, right? So at least you have a guideline, a general guideline of what to do, right? But at the end of the day, you made that plan. Remember that. You made that plan, that outline. This is very important, right? You made that outline that's going to get you to quitting your 9-to-5 job before you had the skills and the tools and the thinking required to quit your 9-to-5 job. Therefore, what I'm saying is you made that timeline without experience. You made that timeline without true knowingness of what it will truly take to achieve that goal. It's a general outline of what you think takes to achieve that goal, right? And what you think will take to get you there. Great. But that's the problem with it all, is the level of experience when that timeline was made, when that goal setting was made, as an example. And therefore, as you go through the lessons, right, that are required for you to achieve that major goal, your experience changes. And therefore, now when you're approached with the next process, you might find that there's a different path that might be more useful than the path that you originally planned for. But if you're so focused on that one path, I got to do this because that's what I planned for, right? That was my plan. That was my 5-year plan, or that was my 3-year plan, or that was my 10-year plan, or that was my 100-year plan. If I strictly focus on that plan, yes, I will get it. I will achieve it, right? But it might not be in the most efficient way, because what I'm blocking away is the universe presenting me with shit ton of opportunities, right? I'm just focusing on the one opportunity, the one timeline that I have written down for myself when I initially set the goal of quit my 9-to-5 job. But what you realize is that once you're open, once you start focusing on the main thing, that quitting the 9-to-5 job, and you have a general outline of how to get there, the general outline, and you're open to other possibilities, what you start to realize is that all of a sudden, fuck, this person just brought an opportunity to me. That person just brought another opportunity to me. And here I have the original opportunity that I planned for. Now, but at this point, because you're open, now you have 3 different opportunities that might get you to the same plan, different timelines. This opportunity might be, hey, join me on this business venture. The next opportunity might be, hey, you know what, you continue doing this, I might give you 100 grand. Versus the one path. Keep on working, keep on saving, keep on working, keep on saving, keep on working, keep on saving. If you're focused on the one path, then that's what you will receive. But if you're open and you have a general outline, I think the general outline is important, right? Because at least you have this general outline, and you know based on the general outline that could probably achieve my goal. But if you're open to other possibilities, as your experience grows, you will have more wisdom in a way, right? And therefore, you might think about different opportunities and different ideas. You might come up with them, or somebody might present them to you, right? And therefore, now you have a choice. Path I planned, or start this side business with this person that I just met, or my friend, or whatever. Or work a little bit longer, and hey, this person might give me 100 grand to trade with. All right, being open to this idea and being open to that idea, and maybe doing them both. And if you do them, you might even notice that, hey, you'll quit your 9-to-5 job sooner because this business is booming. Or you'll quit your 9-to-5 job sooner because this person gave you cash. Which those 2 things are not things that you planned for. And that's what I'm saying here, right? You got to realize that from the point that you make that goal and that process that you outlined might not be the most optimal. But in your mind, when you made it, that was the most optimal, because that was your level of experience that you had. The level of experience that you had at that point, the thinking, the mind that you had at that point in time dictated this process, and therefore achieving that 9-to-5 job. But as your experience changes, as your experience grows, as you evolve in all areas, right, then you might start seeing different opportunities, different pathways that you might take that are more efficient, that are more optimized, that will get you there sooner. And therefore, I don't want to be so rigid, right? That's why I focus on the main thing, and I'm open to everything else. I focus on the main goal, the main lifestyle, and I'm open to everything else. I'll make a plan, but that plan will be general, because I still want a guideline of, this is what I need to do to get there. That's the guideline. This is what I need to do to get there. But I'm open to everything else, because I know that if I'm only focusing on that main thing rather than focusing on the next step, if I'm focusing on the main thing, I will have a bunch of opportunities to get there, to choose from. And that to me is extremely important, right? So you will never hear me say anything that's related to something being rigid and so fixed, right? It will always be being open to everything. I see. So would defining your main goal or dream make more sense as your general outline might change as your experience and mindset changes? Yes. I think you need to have something that you're striving for, because if that something is consistently changing, you're not going to be getting anywhere, right? And that's something from a personal life, that's something I I can relate to, because for about 2 years, Molly and I were thinking about moving somewhere. And first of all, it was moving to Bali. Then how about the Bahamas? Then how about the Turks and Caicos? How about the Cayman Islands? How about Belize? And then we almost moved to Belize until we went to Costa Rica. And we went to Costa Rica right away, fell in love with Costa Rica, made that the main manifestation, whereas before it was like, okay, in my mind, in my meditations, I was just visualizing Turks and Caicos. And now I was visualizing Bahamas. And now I was visualizing Cayman Islands. And now I was visualizing the Belize. And it was consistently, it was the same goal, but it wasn't, I did not know what I want. I knew what I want, but I did not know what I want until Molly and I decided Costa Rica. And we continued to manifest, work towards Costa Rica. That was our main goal. And then all of a sudden, we're in Costa Rica, you know, a year earlier than when we wanted to be in Costa Rica, as an example, kind of thing. So I think, to answer your question, it does help to have a defined main goal or dream, or lifestyle. It doesn't have to be super defined. You still want to leave some room for excitement and something new and fresh. But knowing what you want is important to actually achieving it. Because if you don't know what you want, then you're going to be all over the place in your thinking and your manifestations and such. All right, so moving on to the next thing, slowly wrapping up this webinar, there's a couple questions I'm going to answer. Time targets. To me, time targets are limiting. And I chatted a little bit about time targets. It's something we're going to talk much more about as we move through this workshop. But time targets to me are limiting, because you might set a time target of doing something, quitting my job within 3 years. Within 3 years, that's a big fucking window, right? Or 4 years or 5 years or whatever. By you putting that timeline on it, you're limiting yourself, because you say 3 years, but you could have realistically maybe done it in 3 months or 6 months or a year, by being open to the different opportunities out there. And that's the thing, if you focus on the timeline of being 3 years, then yeah, it will take you 3 years to get there. Great, because at least you got there, even though it took you 3 years. But if you kind of eliminate the timeline from it, right, and focus on just quitting my job, as it's already done, eliminating the time, eliminating the 3-year mark, right, and focusing more on it being already done. And we're going to go through manifestation techniques in the next webinars and such, and how to actually do that. But if in your mind you focus on the task being done and you eliminate the time concept from it, that's going to take you 3 years to do it, then all of a sudden, again, you might have an opportunity that shows up, and now you're able to quit your job within 6 months that you weren't originally expecting. But if you so focus on that three years, if you're just focused on that 3 years, then the universe will give you that. It will take you 3 years to get there. And the thing is, you still get there, which is still good, But by eliminating that time concept from it and just focusing on getting that shit done, achieving that goal and just focusing on that goal itself, and then anything between is just getting shit done till you get that thing or achieve that goal, then you might realize that it's actually going to happen sooner than you expected. So by eliminating the time concept, you bring the opportunity of it actually happening sooner than expecting, because in your mind it's already done, right? And when I say in your mind is already done, as an example, right, what I'm saying in regards to that, it brings me to the next thing, which is manifestation, right? And it's the basis of what I'm going to be teaching in the next lessons. Pretty much everything from here is how to manifest and different meditation techniques and all of that, and why it works with the quantum science and such behind it. But manifestation in its basic form is obviously know what you want, right? So as an example, I'll give you Costa Rica, right? My manifestation process for Costa Rica, what it included. It was this, right? And maybe write this down. So first, you want a well-defined outcome or goal or dream, lifestyle. Then, obviously, you can write it down. So that's the first step. A lot of times I don't even do this, because to me, the writing down process is very basic, but you can write it down, right? Maybe write a paragraph, write a goal and then a paragraph. It's an extra thing. It's an extra confluence factor. But the next thing is the most important thing, which is it's a series of different things, such as visualization, right? Seeing yourself already living in Costa Rica, right? So in my meditation, it's like a daydream. It's in a way like a daydream. I would go into meditation, I would clear my mind, and we'll chat more about this later in the next lessons. And I would visualize my day living in Costa Rica. From the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. My day like my entire day, I would just visualize that. And it started, at the beginning, at the bedroom. It just literally started at the bedroom, and I just started building this visualization from the sunrise rising and what it looks like in my mind. The sun rising from the bedroom, I see it all, right? And then the next day I added a little bit to it. Now the sun already rose. Now I'm walking through the hallway. I'm getting my coffee. I'm checking the charts, right? Then the next day I add another piece to that puzzle, and then because it takes a while. It takes a while to build that whole entire image in your mind, So a lot of times I just focus on the fractals, like the small building blocks, until I have the whole image. So every single day I just add a piece and then add a piece and add a piece. And then it's like, okay, so wake up, do my thing, go get coffee, start working. I just made 100 grand on a trade as an example, just in my mind, see the money come in, see the trade closing, go outside. Now attach. So you have the visualization of what your life looks like. What are you doing throughout that day? What's your work look like? What does your family life look like? What does your environment look like? What are you driving? Where are you living? Right? Visualizing that whole thing, and it will be slowly building, right? So your life will slowly evolve throughout your visualization process, right? So you might have that lifestyle goal, and the cool thing is through meditation, right? If you go deep into that visualization process in your mind, you're literally building that lifestyle, right? And that's what I mean by creating in the now, right? As if you're already living it. That's what I mean by that. Feeling like you've already achieved it. That's a mindset thing. That's within. Feeling like you've already achieved it within in your mind. So that's where that visualization process comes in. But within that visualization process are the senses, which are extremely important, because the senses make it physical, right? The feelings attached with it, the smells, right, attached with it, the emotions attached with it. That now brings it to the physical. So as you're going through this visualization and you wake up, sun is rising, you open the door. All of a sudden, what will you feel? Burst of heat, because you were in this air-conditioned room. Right away, what you will feel is the heat coming from the sun and the humidity, and you will smell the salt in the ocean, and you will hear the waves crashing down on the beach immediately. So bring those feelings to your mind and the senses, the sound of the waves, the feeling of that sun hitting your skin, right? The feeling of the wind when you open that door. How does that coffee taste? Maybe now you're downstairs and you step on the grass. How does the grass feel? How about the sand? How about your deck? How about your pool? Maybe you're now diving into the pool. Is it cold? Is it warm? How does it feel? Right? What's your emotional state like? What are you doing for work? Maybe you're traveling on a private jet to do an event. How does that feel like? Are you happy? Right? So now that you can visualize it, what your life looks like in that future. So in a way, it's like a visualization 2 years from now. And then you do it step by step and you attach the feelings, the senses, the emotions to it. That's creating that environment within, right? And that's you truly manifesting that goal, that lifestyle as it's already done. Because in your mind, you're building it as it's already done. You're already living it. And if you create that environment within with no doubt, zero doubts, zero limiting beliefs, right? Or at least when they come up, you deal with them immediately, right? That's the thing. If they come up, because they will come up. Those limiting beliefs will come up. Feelings of doubt will come up. Deal with them immediately and then focus on the main picture, right? And if you can do this process, feel it within you as if you already achieved it, then that will be presented to you in the three-dimensional reality, because now you've attached the emotions to it, the feelings to it, the senses to it, and you made it real. So now you'll be achieved. Now the universe will be presenting you with opportunities till you live that, till you make that thought form the physical reality, right? And that's why, to me, it's so important to be nimble and open to what the universe presents in front of me. Once I make that connection of what I want, and once I build it within me, in my mind, right? Attach the feelings and emotions and everything and build it within me. Now, and I'm open to everything. I still have a plan. I still have a guideline of how to achieve that, because doing it blind, it will take you forever. You still have to do. That's the thing. But if you're open to all the different opportunities that come your way, right? The thing is, you still have to work towards it. You still have to do it all the time. I don't like saying work towards it, but if you just do the process that's involved to achieving that goal, if you just come every single day, you focus on that, bringing yourself closer to it, right? Then now, all of a sudden, you will notice that maybe within 3 months, within 6 months, within a year, all of a sudden you're living that goal, right? And we were thinking our time-based goal for Costa Rica was January 2020, spring 2020, move to Costa Rica. That was our goal. That's initially when we thought about it, right? When we put it down on paper, that's the thing. When we put it down on paper, it was spring 2020, and then I forgot about the time-based target, because I don't think that way. But when we put it down on paper, it was spring 2020. That's when we kind of like made that plan. Okay, roughly by then. And then moved to Costa Rica April 2018. April 2018 instead of spring 2020. Because throughout almost an entire year of that manifestation, it took a year, right? Every single day building that image in my mind, literally almost a year of just building that image in my mind every single day and focusing on that path until one day came when we're like, fuck, this was cool, because Molly was thinking of doing her yoga teacher training, and she was initially thinking about doing it in Bali, Indonesia, right? And we booked tickets, we booked her seminar for Bali, right? Until this was 2017, until we decided that, or just a thought came in, right? We're manifesting Costa Rica 2020 kind of thing. Until the thought came in, well, why don't you do it in Costa Rica, right? There are many yoga studios in Costa Rica, and there's some really good ones that do like actual certification, right? Why don't you do it in Costa Rica? So then we switched it, and we planned for Molly doing her yoga teacher training in Costa Rica. And we booked the tickets and we did everything, and we booked it for mid-April 2018, right? But not to move there, to just do the yoga teacher training. And we did this in 2017, right? In the process, we're still manifesting, we're still visualizing, living in Costa Rica. But now it's all of a sudden the platform came in that brings me closer to Costa Rica, right? Instead of Molly doing yoga in Bali, she's now doing it in Costa Rica. And then eventually, a month after that, we're like, well, fuck, you're going to be in Costa Rica already. Why don't we just move to Costa Rica now? Why don't we just move to Costa Rica a week before you come, April, before your event? So we moved to Costa Rica April 1st, and she started April 7th, and now we're back for a different chapter, a different purpose. That's already done. And 2020 hasn't even started yet. That chapter, that part of my life is already done. 2020 didn't even start yet. And that's what I mean. Once you eliminate those time-based concepts, right, and you don't even think about them, and you start looking at what's around you, and you're aware of what's around you, if we did not change the Bali trip to Costa Rica, we probably would not have done that trip to Costa Rica just yet, But because we switched the Bali event to Costa Rica event, right? Then now that sparked the idea, well, we're already going to be there. Why don't we just move there now? And if we did not make that change, we probably would not have moved there in April 2018, but later. And that's what I mean. Your timeline needs to be flexible. You got to be nimble, right? You got to be able to receive information around you. And then if it's on the same path, doing it, moving forward, breaking those fears, breaking those limiting beliefs of, fuck, is it too soon? Not just doing it. And that is really my goal setting process, right? That's my thinking behind goals, the limited thinking, big goals, small goals, time-based targets, manifestation, right? It's this whole process. So have it defined, and I do it chunk by chunk. I don't know what I'm going to be doing 5 years from now. I don't know what I'm going to be doing 10 years from now. I don't know what I'm going to be doing 25 years from now. I have a general path because I know who I am as an individual now, right? Because I've done so much personal development that I know who I am and I know what I want to achieve out of life, right, which is just constant growth. And that leaves me with many different things that I can do because I'm not so fixed on that one path. I only think about 5 years at a time. Now, realistically, I only know what I'm going to do within the next 2 years, right? And to me, that's very exciting because I know that now the goals I have achieved, I eliminated the time concept. Because I eliminated that time concept, I saved about 10 years of my goals. Because the things that I'm going to be doing this year within the next 12, 24 months are things that I initially thought about doing 5 years, 10 years from now. I'm like, why focus on that? Why wait 5 years of just fucking bumming around doing nothing? Why not just do it now? So I eliminated that time concept and I just focus on doing. Right? And things I'm going to achieve this year in the next 2 years would have been the things I would have achieved over the next 10 years. If I actually focus to kind of this linear thinking, right? I break all the linear thinking. I don't want to think linear at all. Linear meaning just this one timeline. I think as it's already done, as it's already happening. I think in a way as everything is within me right now, right? And that to me is the game changer. So how do you work towards something without actually working for it? It's a mindset based on quantum laws. It's just a mindset. In your mind, if you feel like you're working towards it, if you're saying you're working towards it, then you're working towards it. Versus just doing the work required. That's the difference, right? It's just a state of mind. I do the work required, little by little, versus feeling like I'm working towards something, right? first it's the building the environment within you as it's already done. That's the first step, right? Build the environment within you as it's already done. That takes away the working towards it, right? Because in your body, in your mind, it's already done because of the visualizations that you've done, right? And the belief system that you've imprinted on yourself, that you've created, the belief system that you created after breaking the limiting beliefs, right? So that is like the first step of getting away from working towards something, because within you it's already done, right? And then when it comes to the process, well, to me, it's just understanding that, yeah, now I need to take those thoughts and put it into the physical, which takes action. And it's just action. It's just steps. It's not working towards it, right? It's the way. I'm just doing. I'm just doing. I'm just being that person who's in my mind. That's it. You know, I'm just being the person who's in my mind that I've created. And I'm living that person every single day. The way that person thinks, right? The way that person experiences life, the way that person thinks about trading, the way that person thinks about business, right? The person who has that in my mind, I'm living it on a daily basis. And that is you taking something that's metaphysical and creating it within you, making it physical. Instead of the working process, just live it, you know, just be it. Just do the work instead of feeling like you're doing the work. Just be in the moment, step by step, you know, kind of doing what's required to get there versus feeling like you're working towards something. You know, it's a whole process of mainly within. All right, so I'm going to do a Q&A. I kind of finished the main lesson here for goal setting. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes? No, 40 minutes or so? Hour and 40 minutes. So I'm going to answer and bang out a bunch of questions. And then we're going to wrap it up. So let me see what you guys have been posting here. And I have a few questions written down. Craig asks, Erek, do you visualize and manifest together at the same time, meaning Molly and myself? Or do you both have the same main life goal and visualize and manifest individually towards that goal? Both. We do both. Yeah, we do both. Well, we're both focused on that main path, on that main goal, right? We both want the same thing, right? So we both are focused on that main goal, and we both have the same thinking. Slightly different here and there, you know, but have the same thought process. And when we meditate, yeah, we'll sometimes meditate together, but meditate together, sometimes it might be actually together or one person somewhere else and another person somewhere else. But when we meditate, we have the same thing. We create that feeling of abundance within us, right? And I'll walk through different techniques with you in the meditation workshops, because Molly does it a little bit differently than I do it. So I'll walk you through how Molly does it versus how I do it, because people receive information differently, right? And people see things differently and feel things differently as well. Some people will feel more, some people will be more visual when it comes to their psychic abilities. Everybody here is psychic in some kind of capacity, right? Or has psychic abilities in some capacity. And some of you guys might feel things more, right, in your meditation. Some of you guys might see things more in your meditation. Some of you guys might hear things in your meditations, you know. So it'll be different tools. But Molly and I, we realize that, yeah, we're different beings, you know, so we receive information differently, but we're on the same path, same thinking, you know, same manifestation. It might just be differ slightly here and there in the tool and the process of how we do it, right? But everything else is the same. So yeah, we're aligned together in the same goal, and therefore that's double the energy directed to that one thing, to that manifestation. So it's even faster that if multiple people can do it, with you, the better. If you get everybody in your circle believing that you're this baller trader, then everybody's manifesting that for you. People can add to your manifestation, right? By believing in you, kind of thing. Francisco, I think Molly and Rick are two lucky fuckers to find each other in this such a big planet, being so aligned with each other. You need a goal setting workshop about how to find a life partner like that. And we can chat about that in the last lesson. Let's save that for the last lesson. If you guys want relationships, save that for the last lesson or somewhere in between there. But that's part of your manifestation, right? That's part of that. Remember that. It's part of it. Steph, so if your goal was to use trading to quit your job and within you that's already done, how do you go about conversations with others? Because I know how you speak is important too. Example, if someone asks, what do you do? Do you say you're a trader and you essentially ignore your job? It's such a stupid question, isn't it? Like, what do you do? Such a basic conversational starter. But I know what you're saying, because I hear that question all the time. Like today I was asked 3 times, what do I do? Literally at the restaurant. Molly and I have been going to the same restaurant every single morning for breakfast. And every single morning, whenever there's somebody else, they're like, what do you guys do? We're here every single day. What do you do? We heard you're that couple from Costa Rica. What do you guys do? We're looking at cars. And we're going through different car dealerships. And again, what do you do? Test driving the car. What do you guys do? But when it comes to the manifestation and obviously the people around you, that's the tricky part, right? And that's something I'm actually going to expand on, because other people can also change your environment, right? Can change your energetic field and influence your energetic body, your energetic field, the field around you, right? So if all of a sudden you have all these big goals and the things that you want to achieve, and then you go to your family's house and this person's talking about the weather, and this person's talking about something else, and this person's talking about how they can't afford that car, and this person's talking about how, fuck, the government's always taking money from me, and this person cannot make a living, his living paycheck to paycheck. But then there's you in the middle who's thinking about baller houses, epic lifestyles, traveling, and all of that. Then you got to realize that this environment, it's going to be really difficult within this environment to achieve that. Because imagine this. Imagine that you yourself, we're this physical body, right? But imagine that around you, imagine like a meter forward. It even expands farther than that, but imagine a meter forward, a meter to the side, a meter to the top, a meter back is an energetic field, right? It's your energetic body. It's like it's expanding. It keeps on expanding. It goes forever, right? But the stronger it is to the center. So this energetic field expands. And if you're hanging out with one individual and they're beside you, their energetic field is connecting with yours. And his energetic field is connecting with yours. And therefore, you might not even realize it, but those emotions of that individual, they're affecting your energetic body in the way you feel, right? Because of the proximity. So that's why when they say, when people say you're the result of the 5 people you hang out with consistently, people say that without understanding why. There is science behind it. There is true science behind it. It's quantum science and quantum physics, right? And digging more into the field, all of this, the old school thinking is that there's nothing here and we're disconnected from the world. The new thinking, the quantum science, says that no, we are connected to everything through this field that's around us, right? And that includes our energetic body. And that's why when people say you are the 5 people that you hang out with, that's why. Because when you hang out with them, they're thinking the way whatever they think, feel within them is within their energetic body, and that is in constant contact with you. And therefore, you might be carrying other people's baggage. And that's why it might feel so hard when you're within that circle. Nobody believes in you, nobody gives you support, right? Or whatever. And you guys know what I'm talking about. And that is changing your environment. You got to realize that you cannot be there. So when it comes to those questions, in a way, to me, when I was in the process to answer Steph's question, well, what do you tell people, right? Well, I avoid that confrontation, right? So if I'm hanging out with the family and friends who are not on the same level of thinking, then, hey Joe, how's the weather doing today? How was work? What did you guys do today? Blah 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 blah. I'll just enjoy the random bullshit chit chat and not even get into what it is that I'm doing, right? I did not tell anybody except Molly. The only person that knew that I was quitting my job was Molly. For a month after I quit my job, the only person that knew that I quit my job was Molly and my work. Family, friends, nobody knew, right? Even when I was on this journey, right? People saw me. My family saw me doing something on the computer, right? My mom, my sister, they saw me doing something on the computer. I missed dinners or I postponed dinners and they knew because, yeah, I was doing some fucking trading on the computer, not really realizing why. At the same time, I did not share much information because I didn't see the need, right? I don't need this person to tell me that what I'm doing is correct. I don't need this person to tell me that what I'm doing is correct because I know within me. Right? I don't need confirmation from other individuals. I know within me that what I'm doing is what I want to do. So I just traded kind of in the background. People knew that I was doing something. I'm like, yeah, I'm checking this out. I'm learning about trading. And then in my mind, I'm like, yeah, 100% into it. No, without a doubt. When it comes to other individuals, I'm like, yeah, this is something that I'm doing, right? And I wouldn't go much into it. I would just say, yeah, this is something that I'm doing, just basics. You don't have to go deep, right? Unless you feel like you want to go deep because you vibe with that individual, right? Then go deep, right? If you're going to be talking to me, go deep because I'll be that person who tells you, yeah, fuck yeah, you can do that. Why not, right? And if you have people like that in your life, go deep, because they'll support you. They're not going to be that individual who tells you, well, you can't do something, you can't do that. Well, it's so hard. So many people fail at this. It's a fucking scam. What are you just getting involved in that bullshit for? I avoid that, and I did still avoid that. I did back then, I still do it now. And when it comes to confronting with those individuals, then it's just the basic chit chat, their level of conversation, right? And that's how I approach situations like that. Because the more you'll see, the more you start working on yourself and the more you start dreaming, manifesting, then you're going to be outgrowing your friend groups, right? And I don't want to say outgrowing because it kind of puts you above them, but you're on a different path. You're on a different path, let's just say that, than they are. And therefore, to me, when I was on that different path, I found the comfort within me, not within everybody around me. And there was a period of time where there was nobody except myself and Molly, until we were on this path, and we're on this path for years. And then quality friends actually started to come in, right? People that actually are on the same kind of vision, who have done those things or, have the same similar type of mindset, and belief systems, right? And are not limited like the previous circles, you know? And yeah, and that's kind of what happens to me. And what's going to happen to a lot of you guys is you will notice that those circles will disappear because of the thinking of the environment that you have created within you, right? And their environment is totally different. And if you now notice that their environment is toxic to yours, and that's where the conflict happens. And that's where you'll probably start shifting yourself away from that energy, because that energy does not make you feel good. So it'll be shifting farther and farther and farther away till that energy is like way back in the distance. So yeah, what do you do for work? That question. Say whatever the fuck you want. Who cares? You know? When somebody first, are you gonna see that individual again? If not, who gives a fuck what you tell them? Yeah, I'm a financial trader. You know? Even though you're not. And if there's somebody that you know, whatever, then say whatever the hell you want, you know? If say the truth, just say the truth. That's the thing. If you're still at your 9 to 5, then say, yeah, I'm doing this right now. Doesn't mean that that's who I am, but yeah, I'm doing that right now. In your mind, doing that right now is part of the process. So just say the truth. But again, you can fake it till you make it kind of thing in your mind, you know, to other individuals as well. But yeah, it doesn't really matter, right? To strangers, it doesn't really matter what it is that you say. So might as well just say what it is that you want to be. All right, let's see some other questions here that I've written down. So I had a question about not connecting timeframes to goals. So that's something we already talked about and discussed. My view on that was obviously if you avoid the timeline, the time concept, you can accomplish things potentially much sooner than you expected by eliminating that time concept. Other question that I had is how can one better understand the balance point between being too afraid and too aggressive? So I have a few questions that are a little bit different than goal setting. But how can one better understand the balance point between being too afraid and too aggressive? The thing is, it's a constant figuring it out. Being too afraid and too aggressive. To me, I'd rather be aggressive than afraid, right? So you'll, to me, I've seen that my fear has slowly disappeared. And when I go to do things now, there's barely any fear left because of constantly working through it, right? Just constantly doing it. And then the being too aggressive, too hardcore into things, well, I'd rather be too hardcore into something than being afraid of doing it, first of all, right? But at the same time, the balance, well, to me, there is no being a little bit of afraid and a little bit of hardcore and aggressive. To me, it's just fuck the fear altogether, you know? Even though there might be a little bit of fear there, so okay, we'll deal with it, just do the action. You know, if you have the fear, just do the action, and the fear will disappear. And when it comes to doing the action, well, put in as much level as you want. You know, if you want to be super aggressive in regards to that action and doing everything that you can to achieve that action, then do that. You know, but at the same time, don't burn yourself out. You know, so it's a balance. It's a balance, but it's a balance in your daily routine kind of thing. So within that day, Half time for yourself, half time for meditation, half time for workout and your health, half time for learning and growing, half time for work, right? Half time for rest. Create a nice environment within that day, so that you're not constantly work, because that's not living either. I don't know if that's where you're going with that question, but hopefully that answers it. Next one, when looking back on your previous trade decisions and analyzing the info, hold on, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, this question is worded a little bit differently, but it was pretty much asking, when you're looking at something in trading point of view, do you look at the bigger picture, the patterns and the structure, or do you focus more on the details and the smaller perspectives? And to me, it's not one or the other. It's not about eliminating one or focusing more attention on the other. It's about doing both. When it comes to trading, you have to find the patterns and the different structure. You have to do that, right? Without the patterns and the different structure, how can you analyze a chart? So you have to do that. At the same time, you have to go down deep to the details. What's that 1 hour chart doing? How about that 5-minute, 15-minute break? Details of the entry, the smaller perspectives. You can look at the macro, the higher time frames, and the smaller details. Something you do in a normal day-to-day life too. You focus on the larger goals, but within that there are obviously the smaller steps, right? Now, both of them are important. And Sam, you're referring more to journaled analysis. Okay, so you're referring more to journaled analysis. Both. You do both, right? So when I journal a trade, I'm like, I do it all. Monthly chart, what do I have? Weekly chart, what do I have? Daily chart, what do I have? 4-hour chart, what do I have? 1-hour chart, what do I have? What strategy was it? What entry did I have? What stop loss did I have? What target did I have? What was my management? That's the full analysis. One point is not stronger than the other. You have big details and small details within analysis, within journaling. All of that is important. All of it. Because eventually, the monthly time frame, you will notice that there's a pattern there. You might notice that there's a pattern within the 4-hour. You might notice that there's a pattern within the entry. If you don't gather all the information, right, then you're not utilizing the information that you have to its fullest potential. So when it comes to journaling and taking notes in regards to that, I look at it all. I look at the bigger perspective, the patterns and the higher time frames, and at the same time I look at the smaller details, the entry methods, the targets, the stop loss, the smaller time frames, and I journal them all. And if you want to go deeper, what was your emotion state at? You can add that too. Does that answer it, Sam? Again, I try to avoid putting more weight on one thing and less on the other. I try to keep them equal because I believe that both the bigger picture and the smaller perspective are important to a point, to a degree. At least for analysis, at least for analysis. Because you want to improve both. There's another question here. Okay, hold on. Sam has a follow-up. My sense was more on when you collect the information on previous analysis and then look back. Well, I don't really understand what you're getting at. To me, when you collect the information on previous analysis and then look back, well, look back for what? What are you looking back for? You collect all the information so that you have all the information when you choose to look back. But when you choose to look back, what are you looking back for? That's the first question. So I might, when I'm fine-tuning, right? When I'm fine-tuning, patterns and mistakes, that's very broad. That's very broad. When you're looking at patterns and mistakes, you have to look at everything, you know. But if you're looking for patterns and mistakes, you got to get more detailed. Well, where's that pattern, that mistake? Where is it? Is it within the higher time frames? Is it within the lowers? You have to find and pinpoint the actual mistake of what it is, right? And if you can pinpoint that actual mistake, not in a bigger picture, but in the smaller perspectives, right? Then that's where the fix can happen, because the fix is a small little thing, right? So I collect all the data on a higher time frames. I collect it all, right? The higher time frames, the monthly, weekly, daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, the entry, stop loss, target management, all of that, right? I collect all that data for every single trade. And then if I notice, hey, on my IBOs, my stop loss is being hit more than I would like. So then I look at all the IBOs and I look at the stop loss for every single IBO. And can I fine tune that? I don't need to look at the higher time frames. My stop loss is being hit. So there's an issue with my stop loss, right? Assuming that it's being hit and then it works out. Being hit and then it works out. If that's the case, then I need to fine tune my stop loss. You know what I mean? And maybe the entry method. Maybe I'm entering too early. If I take a trade and then it just continues to go up and up and up and up and up and up and up, then is that, yeah, that's an entry issue, but that's a higher time frame analysis issue too, because I made that analysis, I took the trade, but it didn't even go in my direction. I just continued to go up and up and up and up and up. So that was a higher time frame issue. So that's where that energy is focused now. So when you collect the information on a trade, you have to collect information on all of it, you know, and the issue might be different parts. The issue might be the entry, the issue might be the stop loss, the issue might be the management, right? The issue might be the higher time frame analysis if you were completely wrong. Does that make sense now? And then when you're digging into it, right, then you're gathering as much as information on that stop loss or on that entry as you can, so that now you have the data to back it all up. And now you can make an actual decision whether it makes sense to make an adjustment or not based on that data that you gathered. A little bit of a different question. And let's move on to the other question. I think, Sam, you asked this one too. How will you differentiate between second guessing and doubt when about to take a trade? You know, so second guessing and doubt. As I understand, by stepping back for a while and raising your awareness includes second guessing. Assuming second guessing and doubt leads to different decisions. Okay. So remember in the last couple lessons, I talked about, you know, if you're taking a trade and all of a sudden you hesitate or you feel emotions coming in of revenge trading, whatever, take a step back, right? Clear your mind and such. That is not second guessing. That is making the first decision in the first place. That's the first decision. It's once I decide to take a trade and then I'm like, well, fuck, you know, do I really want to take it? That's second guessing, you know. But the stepping back to, you know, find your space, find your calm space and connect with that baller trader, you know, that platform as an example, that visualization that you created. That's the beauty of it. Once you create that image, that visualization within you, those feelings, those emotions within you of that baller trader lifestyle, as an example, you can connect with that lifestyle like this. You can connect with that visualization in a second, you know, with that individual that you've created. So when you're taking that trade and you choose to, you know, you notice that, okay, well, it does not feel right. You take a step back to absorb what's actually happening, right? It could be mindset. It could actually be the fact that, you know, it's revenge trading. The stepping back is just disconnecting yourself from the charts, right? The stepping back, if you're stepping back, that means that you probably shouldn't take that trade. Because if you're certain and confident in this setup, there's not going to be a step back. There's not going to be doubt. There's not going to be hesitation, right? And if there's doubt and hesitation, then that's a deeper problem that you still need to work through, right? And if there's doubt and hesitation, yeah, you need to step back and figure out why there's doubt and hesitation. It could be psychological, it could be technical, right? But stepping back is you eliminating making a mistake and focusing on why are you feeling doubt in the first place. And it's like, and if the doubt is, well, yeah, it's a nice IBO, but fuck, this trend line is weird, and that gives me doubt. Well, then probably you shouldn't take that trade because the first instinct was doubt because of this trend line, right? So then you connect with yourself and you realize, well, yeah, this trend line does mess things up. It's not the most optimal setup anymore. Versus, fuck, I'm gonna take it anyway. Taking it anyway is probably the wrong decision, in my mind at least, right? Because there's doubt already there from the beginning. So when I say step back, it's when you realize that you have doubt, step back and disconnect yourself, because you should not be taking that trade. You should be figuring out why you have doubt. And if it's a simple technical thing like this trend line, right, and you have doubt because of it, great. Don't take the trade. See how it works out, see what happens, and then analyze it and make a rule adjustments or optimize later. That's what I mean by stepping back. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right, and the last question. Ryan, honestly, I kind of thought all this stuff was bullshit before, but not anymore. Awesome, man. Epic. It's like the twin photon experiment. Everything is connected through energy. Yeah, twin photon experiment. That's an old experiment, but that's one of the first experiments when it comes to quantum science. Twin photon experiment. I actually think that's it. I think that was a question I was looking for, but I can't see it now. But I think that's it. Let me know if you guys have anything else. We've been going for, what, 2 hours now, so we're going to wrap it up, guys. I just wanted to finish off on one thing. So I'm just going to summarize it all. And when it comes to goal setting in general, there's not one right way to do it, but I think the more real you make it, the better it is, right? So by just kind of thinking about it, it's going to be really hard to achieve it, right? If you write it down, okay, you're one step closer to it, great. But that's still not the most optimal in my opinion. But studies have shown that writing things down does help, but it helps, but it does not confirm. It does not fully achieve that goal, So you got to do more. And to me, when it comes to goal setting, it's creating that environment within you, right? As it's already done, as that goal is already done, as that environment, as that lifestyle is already built. So building that visualization within your mind, right? Just so you know, first you can decide first what it is that you want, right? And then you build the image within your mind, right? Build a memory in a way. In a way, when you're building that ideal day or what it feels to be that individual 2 years into the future, when you're living that lifestyle. So you're building an image, you're building a memory. A memory has the visual, it has the feelings, the senses, the emotions, the sounds, right? All within that memory. So when you build that memory, it's not just about writing down a goal anymore, right? It's about building a memory. And therefore, visualize what it is that you want, build it step by step, piece by piece, right? And connect the emotions to every single part of that day. Connect the feelings, the wind, the sun, the water, the heat, the grass, to the emotions. What is it that you're doing, right? Or how does it feel chilling, reading a book by the pool? How does it feel trading from that environment? What else are you doing for work? How does it feel flying on a private jet to do an event for 3,000 people? Right? What's the feelings behind it? The emotions. Connect that, and now you have a whole visualization, a whole complete thought form, right? A thought form is real. And then your job is to take this thought form and make it turn into the physical. So you can focus on the small little steps if you want, but focusing on those small little steps might delay that main goal, because you're focusing on one step after another, after another, after another, after another, versus just focusing on this one major step. By achieving this one major step, you'll be able to do all those anyway, right? Hence why I focus on the bigger picture when it comes to the lifestyle itself rather than the small little fragments. Because by achieving that lifestyle, then I can achieve all of this too. Right? And that's probably going to happen anyway as I achieve this bigger lifestyle. And then, so that kind of ties in the bigger goals and the smaller goals and the time targets. I try to avoid utilizing time as much as I can because time to me is limiting. The linear thinking is limiting. Whereas if I eliminate time, I can do things much faster most of the time. And then the manifestation, which is the process that we just talked about. To me, all of this is goal setting, but I also live 2 to 5 years at a time. So I don't plan too much ahead of time. I learn as much as I can about myself so I know who it is I want to be in the future, what it is I want to do in general, right? But I only plan for the next 2 to 5 years kind of thing. And then to me, once I achieve that, then it's the beautiful thing of figuring out, okay, what's next? Rather than having it all figured out. Because again, like I said, you can have it all figured out right now, but it's all figured out with this current experience, with the current thought process that you have, right? Whereas you got to understand that as you achieve more goals, as you learn new lessons, your experience grows, your psychology develops more, you learn more about yourself, right? Specifically, if you start meditating and working on manifestations and all of that, you'll start to develop more as an individual, as a being. And therefore, that linear timeline will not be the most optimal anymore. Hence why I don't plan too far into the future. I only plan for this short period of time for this next goal. And this next goal I know I'm going to achieve within this short amount of time, right? And to me, the short amount of time is a few years kind of thing, because I look at major lifestyle changes. So major lifestyle changes can be done within a year, within a few years kind of thing. Sometimes even faster than that if you eliminate that time process. And what was I saying? Yeah, that's it. I'm losing my mind, guys, because it's been 2 hours, over 2 hours. But that thinking is what has helped me achieve different things in life, right? And like I said, yeah, what I wanted to say is because I plan only 2 to 5 years into the future, throughout those 2 to 5 years, I will achieve the lifestyle that I desire. I will grow as an individual. I will learn new things within me, build on my mindset even more, right? Learn new skills, learn new lessons, again, have more experiences. And therefore, when I complete that, I'll be more developed as an individual, and therefore the next goal that I set will be totally different than the goal I will be setting now. If I plan right now 10 years into the future, what I'm going to do 5 years and then 10 years into the future, that 10-year goal will be different now because I have a totally different level of experience than if I make it 5 years from now. Because 5 years from now, I'll be a totally different individual. Well, not totally different, but I will have more wisdom than I have right now, as an example. Does that make sense? That's why I don't go too far into the future, you know, just a little bit, just a little bit. Focus on now and a little bit into the future. Awesome, guys. That is it. That's what I wanted to leave you with. Let me know if it all makes sense. Let me know if it's too deep for you. Let me know if it's perfect. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to hear. Let me know if you think this is all a bunch of BS, or let me know if you love it. I want all feedback. I want to know if I go too deep sometimes, or if it's the right type of information. And again, I build a little bit more every single lesson, and we're going to go into some deep stuff, but I'll save the deep stuff for later. Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Cool. So remember, write it down, but it's more than just writing it down. It's more than that. All right, guys, that is it. Thanks for joining in. For those who joined in live, for those who are watching the replay, hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you all in the next lesson, lesson number 4. I need to confirm. Lesson number 4, meditation. Meditation part 1. So that will be the beginning of the different tools that one can utilize. Meditation is just one, but there's going to be different tools within there that one can utilize. So that is it for now, guys. Enjoy your day, night, morning, evening, wherever you guys are. And I will see you all in the next lesson. Bye-bye, guys.